Oh, today we have joining us still Jacob,
Hello.
Close Up Andrew, and the wonderful Devin and Tyron. Thank you so much for joining us on this on our classically messy of a show.
Yay.
All right. Woo! We went through a lot of stuff to get to recording this, so if we seem a little giggly and wonky at this point, you know what? That's just how the cookie crumbles. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Amanda, would you like to share with our audience what we'll be talking about today?
What are we going to be talking about today? Because there's so much like heavy stuff happening right now, and I have a list that we came up with.
Pick one.
Should I just
Pick
go
one
with?
thing.
Okay, so let's just start off. We're gonna let's just talk about the protests that are currently happening in Portland.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Black Lives Matter protests.
And all over America, and rightfully so. I'm going to refrain from cursing. Rightfully so.
Yes, I think we can all agree on that, right? Seems pretty solid. Have there also been anti-mask protests in Portland? Has that been happening?
Not at the same time.
Cool,
Not
great.
more.
Well, then we can drop that.
Yeah, I believe they're a different organization altogether.
What was that, Tehran?
I believe that's a different organization altogether.
Right. Yeah, right. Unaffiliated.
Actually,
And, they got what they wanted right quick, haircuts. So I guess we're back to the important stuff, not being sacrificed for the stock market.
So anyway, Black Lives Matter, protest about it.
Devin and Tyron, you guys have been going to the protests, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Commendable.
Yes, ma'am.
You want to tell us?
Very, very powerful stuff. Even yesterday, as I'm sure if y'all have been in Portland, y'all remember in 2017, there was a stabbing on the Max where two people ended up passing away, and one person ended up hospitalized, but ended up surviving. That racist guy's court date was yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know how much y'all heard about it, but apparently he yelled out some racial slurs in the courtroom and like told the lady that he should have gotten her too.
Yeah.
Pretty much said I should have effing killed you too.
Right.
The guy that survived that was a speaker last night.
Oh.
And it was definitely very powerful. He spoke on how he was raised by a Black family himself, and how he was, not only taught, a certain household manners, but also just the peer understanding on how, we're truly no different from one another in any aspect, way, form, or fashion that we have either been or not been properly taught in school. As I imagine we're all somewhat in the same, generation of a spread. But regardless, I don't think American education has been anything that's too informative towards a greater scale of things other than their you know, their agenda that they want to keep us at. So um, I believe his name is Micah. He spoke pretty much on that kind of turn, you know, along with speaking with the younger individuals in the crowd, informing them on different ways that they can go about um, making this country and world a better place by being more proactive with one another. Using Minneapolis as an example right now, considering that they have shut down their police enforcement bureau, and that city seems to be working just fine without guns holding racist people, you know, doing what they do. So, outside of that, it's always usually some good informative speakers that go up on the onto the platform and things like that, either sharing their own personal stories or giving information on, you know, the disadvantages and injustices that Black people have had to go through in this country for, as we, you know, for a very long time since the beginning of our country. So it's in my opinion very very worthwhile being a part of an environment, feeling the energy of like-minded people, to be able to comfortably speak with and like collectively, you know, try to figure out what we can do different as, you know, people of the world, rather than, you know, just trying to take what's, you know, going on with our government anymore. So that's a very powerful and unique energy that I honestly can't say I've felt too many places myself. I have never done any protests myself. So this is all eye-opening to me. But honestly, even though I haven't done any other protests, I feel that this one certainly is unique in its own, considering how much attention that it's gotten worldwide, not only in our country, and apparently is still doing so. I was told today that Japan has joined that fight with us in doing protests as well. I'm not sure how long, but you know, I don't think that's the point. I think the point is, you know, as long as we all can figure out how to get that to the situation, that it's, you know, it's going to be a better turnout for the continuity of our human civilization that we have.
I've read at one point
what's
that
that?
overseas it's not being covered as a protest as much as an uprising against an increasingly fascist regime. The same way we cover other countries.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Like how, like for example, how Hong Kong was covered.
Yeah, you know, like the repressed population rising up against the regime that's trampling on their rights, and they're like, "Look, it's America's turn. Maybe they'll get their house in order."
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Hey, Kat, you have a great kind of addition to this conversation.
I do. So, in regards to these protests, rebellions, uprisings, riots, all the things that they've been called throughout our history, I have devised a little same question trivia, where I have a very specific question, and there are multiple answers. So let's see if we can get any hits. Here's the question: what did a member of the Black? Oh wait, sorry, I can't read. What year did a member of the Black community suffer police brutality, which led to systematically ignored and demonized protests and riots?
Running too.
Yeah, I would say 92. Rodney
Okay.
King.
1618 through yesterday.
All right. I do 92.
I'm gonna go with 1921. 1920 or 1921.
The correct answer for this round is 1992.
Okay.
Which had two predominant riots. One after the initial incident with Rodney King, and then after the actual trial
Right.
and bullshit that followed, which was the Los Angeles riot or Los Angeles uprising, and the West Las Vegas riots. So I've just got more of those to tell you anytime you want to.
Hey, yeah, just get educational.
I kind of brought that up because the same story, different year, different day, but the same story still like is happening, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Over and over and over again. I going through all of the what Wikipedia referred to as civil unrests in America. The absolute grand majority involve some sort of brutalization of Black people in the Black community. Plenty of them were just straight up white people being mad that Black people existed, and so they went in and destroyed their entire Black built towns.
Yeah.
Just burned to the ground. And the fact that has been so incredibly prevalent, and yet we are like one building gets destroyed or on fire and it is just dehumanizing any of the protesters, any of the people involved. Like,
Are you
it's
talking
really-
about a building being set on fire, like, as part of the protest?
right.
Like that Target
Yeah,
that burned.
Right,
Like
right,
Target?
right. Yeah.
I got into with people as folks who are probably know, or maybe not, depending on who you have blocked on Facebook, where it's like, yeah, it's definitely a shame people are getting killed, but where am I going to buy food if that Target burns down?
It's absolutely absurd. I for one am all for. I mean, okay, this ridiculous list, which is only times that specifically police brutality has brought on these riots and protests, and specifically against Black people. I went through and like even just cherry picking those criteria have an insane amount of names. George
What's the very
Jackson,
first one?
Charles Oatman, Clifford Glover, like it goes on forever. And yet, for some reason, property damage and people like property damage and like looting is somehow so much more terrible of a crime.
Right.
Like, we don't have a surplus of items. Like, we don't have insurance companies specifically for helping businesses. Shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather the entire place burn down and we still have people living than everyone feeling safe and tidy. And by everyone, I obviously just mean white people, because, like, we don't have to worry about literally police officers coming into our house and shooting us in our beds. And the fact that there are people in this country that absolutely have to worry about that is an abomination to everything that we supposedly stand for.
The protests are institutionalized police craziness in our society.
Sorry, what? I didn't hear you.
Oh, the institutionalized police craziness.
The protests are towards that. Okay.
Yeah,
I
I don't.
hear ya.
I'm just throwing out words.
I can say one of the unfortunate things about the protest is that there's kind of uh, uh, two things going on. Like you have a crap ton of people that are marching peacefully, and then you have a certain few that are, wanting to be, downtown at the Justice Center,
Right.
messing with the cop. I'm personally trying to understand both sides of that. I'm more of a peaceful person myself, so I've been veering towards being at the peaceful protest. But again, even going off of what my man said right there, it a bunch of tiny little things are just as equivocal as one large thing, depending on how much big stuff or little stuff happens. So considering the fact on, Miss Cat's list, which is still minimal in the full scale of things, but is certainly large for even this, this podcast that we're doing right now. It certainly is understandable that there are individuals that have had enough and is tired of seeing, these things either videotaping and no one's even able to do anything about it but videotape it. Or they're tired of reading about it in the paper, seeing it in the news, seeing it on TV. Or they're tired of just the simple fact that there's so much going on that the media is picking and choosing which death is important enough to show to the rest of the world, to America. I think that one is a little bit more enraging than any of them, because there are so many people that have been victimized by the police that we don't even hear about, we don't even know about. Right. They don't all make the headlines. And that I feel is honestly the most disrespectful of the three, just because, you're not valuing, even if, it's apparent that, these lives aren't valued from the people that are doing these things, but to extend it even further to say that, only certain ones of them mattered on a bigger scale to want to show the world, is quite angering, to say the least. But that still isn't going to, at least for me personally, be enough to go and mess with the police in any way, or cause havoc on anything, or ruin stuff. It's certainly unfortunate that material is in our country is valued more than a human life.
Yeah.
But with that being said, too, for the people that are in there, robbing these places dry, they're under that same spell. If life was valued more, then they would want to do a more peaceful protest, not just go get a big screen, which I know that there's other things that people are getting, food and things like that to, provide for the family. But again, when you see somebody, going to go get packs of meat and vegetables compared to watching a guy walk out of the Cheesecake Factory with a whole cheesecake, it's a little, it's a little weird to, compare the two.
Food's food.
Yeah.
And true. But I guess what I'm saying, I equate that, full cheesecake to a 32-inch TV. You don't necessarily need that. And just because some stuff has happened and you're aimed at corporations, I I see where a lot of those people for sure have a lot of things to do. I mean, when it comes to, I don't know if any of y'all seen the 13th on Netflix at all, but you know, we're talking about the CCA and we're talking about ALEC and things like this, and corporations being a part of the laws that are being written to be put into, you know, into our system. You know, that is angering, you know, and that does make one want to go, you know, burn something down, I suppose. But I, again, we have to be more smart than what they are to have some, like, set the system up, you know, and just burning something down, I don't think is going to be the most helpful. Maybe on a personal level, but not on a, like, you know, a level where it could help the betterment of everyone. You know, you're still helping yourself. And I think that people that are going to the bigger protests are in that mindset that they want to help everyone, not just themselves. Yeah. So, as you know, as y'all watch these, you know, whatever updates of the protests that are going on and stuff like that, definitely keep that in mind, that there's more than one, and the media usually chooses which one to show, and it's usually the one that's going to make American civilians look worse than anything. So, yeah.
But something we have to realize too is that, like, when these protests were first going on, in Minneapolis, the first recorded instance of glass being broken was actually by a disguised police officer. And then, if you were following, I'm sure you were, all the things that were happening after that, a lot of the rioting was done by white people, like mostly under the age of what appeared to be 24. And then there were also people, like peaceful protesters, coming into downtown areas of cities and seeing pre-stacked piles of bricks that they had not put there. They were put there, they were staged there to incite violence, to incite rioting, to give police officers an excuse. Anyway, that's all right. Like, that's all something that, you know that.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's so many layers to this, you know, like...
Like, I'm not going to tell someone how to be angry, but I'll definitely tell my fellow, you know, white people to be like, shut up and sit down. Like, I started protesting when I was far younger than I am now, and the main thing I learned was show up and then shut up. I don't know. I can't know. My experiences on this subject are terribly blinding. And don't talk about it. Like, don't go home and post on social media about how it's just at that big protest. Don't gloat. Don't, because that makes it about you.
Right.
And for me, it doesn't need to be about me. Once again, I failed my way upwards. No one cares. Like, I mean, my friends cared when I lost a tooth to a white nationalist fist, but no one cares past that. You know?
I think it'd be worthwhile posting something on social media if, you know, if it was a powerful enough conversation to where you feel that people would be able to grow from these, you know, these conversations that are being had at these protests, you know. I mean, it's a, you know, I understand what you're saying too, like, you know, check me out, you know, Instagram photo, like, is one thing, but like, oh my God, I met this guy, he told me so much about, you know, his own personal experiences, and it's opened my eyes as to like how I could like either, you know, better or further, you know, help out this cause, you know what I'm saying? And to shine some light on that for everyone to see, I think is worthwhile. But I definitely agree with what you said though, like as long as we keep it in that kind of bound and not like, you know what I'm saying? Look at me, I'm here, you know, and it's
I did the right things. I'll get praised for it.
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, hey, if we can leverage, get enough, like, sort of start praising, just giving white people praise for participating, and, like, see how many more start participating.
I mean, that's one of the biggest complaints I started smacking down recently was if they want my help, they should be nicer to me. It's like, fucking why? You're gonna condition doing the right thing on whether or not you get praised like a toddler?
I mean, like,
And
it's
also you're assuming that
it's
you're
stupid,
not having a
but
nicer time automatically.
it might be stupid, but if it works, it works.
Woo! What year did a member of the black community suffer police brutality, which led to systematically ignored and demonized protests and
Wait.
riots?
Oh, we already did
92.
that. We did that one. Oh yeah.
No, it's the same question every time. Pick any other year. It's probably on this list.
No.
I think that's the
19.
point. She can keep
I'm gonna go with my
asking
man.
questions.
Oh, it's the same
1920s, yeah.
question.
1920s. Time of MLK, 69.
That's 69. What did you say, Amanda?
I was 1960s something.
Yeah, there are a lot in 1960s. So there wasn't, for the specific thing of police brutality,
Right.
Wiki did not have 1969, but we can talk about the long hot summer where there was 159 race riots in 1967, which included Cairo riots for Private Robert Hunt being found from a he was hanged in his jail cell. Postile Lasky Jr. had Avondale riots. I can't read, and that's on me. And
We don't need to go through every.
Wouldn't it be a different
Right.
world if we
Wait,
did,
but
though?
don't we?
Like,
Man,
these protests,
yeah.
the cops have been killing 6 people a day on average. What if we did them every day?
I thought it was very important, in particular, to make sure I was naming names because, I mean, one of the Miami riots, because there's been multiple, I had to go search for the 13-year-old boy who was shot in an arcade that started the riots for one of the Miami riots. Like, it wasn't even just in the actual entire huge long wiki article about it.
Is this important? It is like that's a bad question to ask, but I don't know.
It's a lot of details, and I had to focus on something because if I didn't, then it would be even less intelligible, just anger and frustration, which isn't even like fucking mine. I know that we're not supposed to curse a whole bunch.
Hey, you're allowed to have empathy, for God's sake.
Sure. But I do want to acknowledge that I've never had to worry about, like, personally worry or think about this. And that's awful because I wasn't even taught about any of this. I did not know about Red Summer.
That's a good point, though. That's a good point, which was touched on earlier about the things that we are not taught.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a Portland public education myself. I mean, Martin Luther King solved racism by being peaceful.
Right.
End of the chapter.
Yeah.
Who was here when the Pilgrims landed to help them survive? No one. They were the first ones.
I heard somebody who said that when they were taught the Civil War, they were told that the South was fighting for states' rights. That is what they didn't talk about slavery, did none of that. They were just like, no, states' rights. It was just
Yeah, it was
states'
the
rights.
War of Northern Aggression.
Yeah.
That's still taught in many places, and certainly in the South, from what I understand.
It's one of those technically true yet entirely wrong sentences, because it was the state's right to own humans as property.
I
Like
mean,
that's
states
specifically
rights-
the right that they were fighting for.
The end.
Like,
When we get to the what can we do? How about let's shift this anger into something that's productive, especially as a white woman or whatever. What can we do? Listen to powerful speakers, or listen to people about their experience. I'm gonna say that one. Anybody else got anything to add? Like, what can we do?
Yes, start bringing up the conversation of racism around your white friends and family.
Yeah.
Starting understanding who you're dealing with and who you're around. That way you can get a better understanding of how you grew up and how you have that involved in your own environment, and be able to construct yourself accordingly from there. Because it isn't just, racists aren't just in one spot, you know what I'm saying? They're everywhere. So, and it can be very well hidden. It takes very minor things, minor hints for it to be shown. But, once you start knowing what to look for, it becomes very easy to recognize. And I think that outside of like helping out any Black organization or trying to donate or go to Black people to see like what you can personally do, I'd say that's definitely the first step, because like I can't go up to a white person and be like, hey, how do you feel about such and such? They're not gonna be straight up with me because I'm me, you know what I mean?
Right.
So for you to be, for a white person to go to a white person and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And see how they answer from there, and be able to, along with, educating yourself on these things, one thing that I feel I've been trying to tell people is, these videos and these things are hard to read and hard to watch. And a lot of people still don't and choose not to. And I think that that's just the point. Like, that discomfort in every video, that discomfort in every article, every obituary, that's a daily pain that Black people have to feel on a regular basis, not just when it pops up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think that those couple of things would definitely go a long way in switching people's mind up, because it's one thing if I was to say, hey, racism isn't cool, but a white person tell a white person, hey, that's not really cool. And then they start hearing that more and more often. They're like, then they have to look inward to be like, well, what am I doing here? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, pressuring white people to actually reflect. Because we got blind spots, as one of you kind of pointed out. So just like...
And...
Go ahead.
There are going to be resources if somebody's watching this and doesn't know where to start, doesn't know what to look for, doesn't know who to look up or research or whatever. We're going to have resources for that. Doesn't know who to donate to. We're going to have a list of that too.
I have a buddy. I'm sorry to interrupt. I have a buddy who actually, he was talking about how he was listening to one person like express that to like, you want to help and donate to the Black communities, help Black businesses. And as he said that, or as he heard that, he felt that where that is useful, he felt it more beneficial to help out the Black people that is involved in his life personally.
Yeah.
And in doing so, like, that could potentially help the Black community by helping out the people that you already know.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It is, yeah, it really is. So, to what regards that help is, I couldn't, tell you that's your prerogative, but I think that was, yeah, just like you said, like that's a pretty solid way to go about it as well, because you can go give your money to a stranger or give some, money to someone that you know personally or whatever, and not money, but like whatever assistance that you may feel. I'm into music, so he ended up giving me an MPC that he let me use, which is like really awesome. But yeah, I think that that's also something to tread light on, considering the situation right now, and you know, you certainly don't want anything to feel like a handout.
You don't want to be you don't want to be
By any
presumptuous
means.
about it. Yeah.
So
Based upon my generosity.
Right. But I mean,
Be like,
Oh God,
it all
yeah.
comes down to communication, though, which it seems like with all this technology, we are less adept at because we've sort of gone into our comfort zone bubbles of reality and decided what is real and what isn't real. I'm just going to put that out there. But it's obvious that now is the time, like, white fragility needs to end. We need to do our research, and we need to be there for the research. Not just, like, because it's one thing to read the names, and it's another thing to know them. And it's another thing to know all of the details, because as everyone is realizing, details are everything, and they've been hidden. And so there's a reason you don't know there's obviously a reason why you don't know the black person side of the story, the person who got killed. Recently our march went to North Portland and was on that interstate bridge right before Mississippi Avenue on, why am I blanking right now?
I don't know what that is either.
I know it though. Anyway, Skidmore, on Skidmore. And anyway, I'm just gonna say her name, and anyone who's listening can look her name up and research her story. But Kendra James is who was killed there. She was a 21-year-old black woman, and it's just when we heard the way the speakers go into all of the details, anyway, I'm just going to stop there. But it's just, it kind of gives you a perspective of all of the process of everything, and how blindsided everyone has been to the process of not just the process of research, but also the process that police officers go through before they shoot someone. The fact that they're not even, it's illegal to maim, to shoot to maim. They have to shoot to kill. I didn't know that until that day. So anyway, I'm just going to stop there. But I'm also saying all these things not just to say, do your research. I'm also telling myself to do the same thing. Because for so long, I knew that the shit was going on, but I had the privilege of saying, oh, I have all this shit going on. Like, I don't want to know. And it was wrong. It's dead wrong. And I think that now that this is, all these things are converging at one point, everyone's starting to wake up to that. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say.
I think that's all really great points. It's like bringing a side
They're
effect.
so cute.
Sorry,
Sorry, they're so cute.
I know.
Okay, sorry.
Like a side effect of talking to your, friends, family, acquaintances, coworkers, other white people about their opinions and about the things that are going on. It's also adding just peer pressure to, like, oh, you're not cool with it. Maybe they hung out with other people and they were like, oh yeah, I'm sure that this is how they do it. They sit around and they go, we're terribly racist. And it feels real comfortable in there because then they can all just be racist. But if they have other people that they care about, that they respect, that are just around them, if they have any sense, which most humans do, of some sort of judgment from people around them, like that's at least a start of having them actually examine their own beliefs.
And there will be risks. You can be threatened on the job if you stand up and do what's right.
Yeah.
They threaten, and in our surf-based economy, if you lose your job, you lose where you live, you lose your food, you lose all those things that keep you stable.
Yeah.
But to not stand up is tactfully, not necessarily encouraging, but allowing. And I cannot count the number of complaints I had at my last job about that. Because it's, again, you gotta do the right thing, and if you get fired for it, for doing the right thing, it is the smallest penalty that has ever been paid for doing the right thing. Because very rarely do you get rewarded for being on the right side. The reward is being right, like it's doing the right thing, is being a decent human being.
Yeah.
If you want the financial reward, sell people out.
And it's also, I agree with what you said earlier too, that it's not about the ego too. So, like, it's not about you being right. Like, yes, be on the right side of history, but it's not about you. So it's like, and I feel like
on the right side of history. It's that this is the right thing to do, independent of
Exactly.
any other variable.
And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that though. Like, that's a lot of the white world shit that's going on, is that there isn't an examination of that ego, really. Some people don't even know that that's where they operate from. You know, like, so it's like a lot of personal work has to be done to come from a different perspective, to talk to someone and not, to talk to someone who is operating from ego and ego alone, and ask the right questions to be like because I know that when I call my family and I tell them that I've met the love of, like, anyway, I know when I call them that I know that they will not respond to me saying, to me telling them, what they should do in their lives. They're not going to respond to that. They don't, that's not how they operate. Like, so it's not how most people operate. So it's going to have to be from a place of compassion, or from a place of self-reflection, and a place of hope, of like, I'm just going to give you this information, and I'm going to ask you questions and be here with a conversation, but I can't have expectations for anything past that. Because I feel like our society is also outcome-based, and we're having to unravel that too. And anyway, that's just stuff that you were making me think, Andrew, so I thought I would put that out there.
That's great.
Yeah, making it a practice. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
I ask why a lot when I encounter things like that. It's why most of my family doesn't talk to me anymore. They say something, and it's like, what do you mean by that? I play dumb. I don't understand what you just said. Why was that funny?
Right.
Explain it to me. I don't get it. until they hit a point where they can't say anything other than it was just a dumb racist joke. It's like, yeah, it was. Why did you say it?
Yeah, I often try to, whenever I do have conversation, like, somebody says something utterly stupid to me in
That's
my
against my First Amendment right.
Yeah. But I will actively try to have an earnest conversation. And sure, there's tons of trolls out there that'll whatever.
Right here.
It's just, you can usually tell the difference at a certain point. But I try to play on whatever tiny bit of empathy that they could possibly have. I try to relate it to, okay, so let's pretend you live in this world where walking down the street, you could get stopped and searched out of nowhere. You're not doing anything, you're not bothering you're sitting there, you're listening to music, or you're walking around, whatever. How would you react to that? How would that make you feel? And then sort of building on that. Okay, so now you're in that position. And what do you do next? Kind of giving them a full, I guess, build your own adventure narrative for them to fill in the blanks themselves, but trying to have it all be from a perspective that I have actively, listened to and been researching and been trying to understand, because that's my end is taking all of this from an empathic standpoint. That's how I process everything. So that's what I try to sort of make other people do without them feeling like they're being attacked. They're telling the story with me, but they're also getting a different point of view, or a point of view of a different life than their own. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I think that very easily highlights the different paths we've taken through life. I have never had anyone respond negatively when I've been more challenging, but that's usually because I'm the tallest, biggest person in the room. I've never felt threatened, to the point where a guy came at me with a chain and I didn't realize I was in danger until afterwards. Whereas I suspect what I just said sounds crazy to most of the people who were, in this chat with me.
I mean, we're used to you, Andrew, so.
I mean, you're used to me, but it's have you ever had that sense of non-threatening? The sense that you're literally never in danger. It's something that doesn't exist for people in our country other than people like me. That's a weird thing to realize. Now all of you need to be here with me. Here's the strangest thing I run into when I describe it to, fellow me's. The whole, you want us to get brutalized by the cops too? It's like, no, I want no one to get brutalized by the cops, but thanks for acknowledging the problem.
Oh. Kat, do you have any more trivia? Really depressing trivia for us?
Depressing trivia, ready? What year did a member of the Black community suffer police brutality, which led to systematically ignored and demonized protests and riots?
1937.
Oh no, I'm gonna say 2015.
I don't know what year Emmett Till got murdered, but I want to say then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what year was, Fred Hampton murdered? That year.
I felt like that was in the 60s as well.
For sure, that was 65 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of options, guys.
Yeah. I'll take 65 and 2015. 2015, We had the Baltimore protests for Freddie Gray, and the St. Louis riots for Mansour Balbay. And 65 in particular was Marquette Fry, and that was straight up the Watts riots, the Watts
okay,
Rebellion.
okay.
Like,
Watts Rebellion.
that's it. Period.
So
Well, you got what you wanted, Amanda.
yeah, I did. I did. It's so sad, but it's the same.
You can answer this question over and over and over again, and I will. Like, I'll fully keep asking it. This is very specific. This is not the grand majority of riots, protests, massacres, battles. Like, there's so many different synonyms for just unrest. That's my favorite
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Civil unrest, racial unrest. The grand majority in America have been around white people oppressing black people. I'm not saying that there's not other ones or anything else, but that's not the point.
I mean, the Bears did win one year.
What?
The Bears did win, and that caused flipped over cars and fires.
Let's get into the Straw Hat Rebellion. I'm just kidding.
That one sounds fun.
It is obscene, to say the least. And I mean, the fact that I have to, like, and I am, and I will fully educate myself about this is shameful. The fact that we don't get taught this in any school is shameful. I don't have other words because I'm so feelings, but I'm going to keep feeling feelings, and I'm going to keep talking about it.
Deceitful is my word for that.
What?
I said deceitful is my word for that.
Deceitful.
It's not an accident.
And it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but at the same time, like, something that strangely a Facebook feed brought to my attention, I couldn't remember ever seeing a picture of Martin Luther King that wasn't black and white. We had color photography, but they only ever show you the black and white ones that feels even more in the past.
Oh.
I was just telling Miss Devin about how Rosa Parks was like 37 or 39 or something like that when all that happened, but they make her out to be like in her 60s
Right,
or late 50s or something. Yeah.
She was a trained activist.
And
The
what's
high school
weird,
kids
yeah.
dreaming about integration are still alive. They're in their 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this isn't old.
Right.
This isn't people. Yeah.
But they're like, oh no, this is like, so long ago. It's all fixed now.
We had a black president, you guys.
Look, first we beat the Nazis, then we solved racism, then America was great.
Did we really
Okay.
beat the Nazis if they're back?
Did we
Oh,
ever
yeah,
defeat the
they're back.
Confederacy? They never left.
Oh god, they're back. Okay.
What do you call
I
them? Euro nationalists is what they go by now.
Yeah, Nazis changed their
Euro-national.
names. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right,
I-
and I called the
personally
kitchen fire
don't
a surprise
care
species.
what-
Race realists.
Oh my god.
I
For
never-
you to not have a picture up there, bro, and then your voice comes out, it is.
I'm so sorry.
I'll
I'm
tell
so
you that.
sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Startling.
Yeah.
I've been resisting doing that this whole time.
Andrew, you had a joke? The
I had a joke.
kitchen. You had a kitchen fire joke?
I can call a fire in my kitchen a surprise space heater. It doesn't change what it is. And I mean, my neighbors are gonna care. My roommate's gonna care. Like, oh, don't worry about it. It's just a space heater. We didn't expect it, but it's just keeping us warm. It's like, no, you can call themselves whatever they want. They're Nazis. And, well, you can give a sliver to the 1930s German because Nazis hadn't gone full Nazi in public. You can't now, because when you embrace that ideology, you're embracing all the negativity that came out as concentration camps and the like were liberated. And I say sliver in the same way that, like, you know, if I lived in a cave right now, you could give me a sliver for not knowing what's happening in this country. Like, we know it's happening. We watch it. We've known this whole presidency. We've watched it for years. We've had protests constantly about it. And weirdly, up until COVID hit, we were so, like, when I say we, I mean those of us not directly impacted by it. We're so busy paying our rent and settling our bills that, I mean, yeah, it's terrible kids are in cages, but I don't have time to go do anything about it. Yeah, it's terrible that.
On that note.
Easy excuse.
But now everyone is unemployed, so
we're unemployed, and a significant number of people are making more money than they ever have off of unemployment. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
well.
Yeah, anyone who was making minimum wage is now making a minimum of $15 an hour with the CARES Act.
I was going to say that there's also a bunch of billionaires who are making more money right now than ever.
That's what I thought you were touching.
That's where I thought you were going.
Well, no, when we're talking, well, we have the time to protest. We have
1 minute left.
Oh,
right. I would like to thank everyone for being on the show. And for everyone on our crew, and a big thanks to Bo McBurney for making the text on the screen that's obviously already been happening happen. And thank you to Tyron. Thank you to Devin. Thank you to Andrew. Thank you to Jacob, still or otherwise. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Kat.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for
y'all.
listening.
Thank you.
If I can leave with one more thing,
Yeah.
It's not enough to be not racist. You have to actively be anti-racist.
Amen.
Yes.
Roll credits.
Roll.